The idea is that the only way you can protect innocent people is to treat every person who is brought into a court as if the person is innocent. And what that means is that then everybody will handle the case in a way that you would handle it if in fact this person possibly is innocent. I think what's happened with our system is that we're not motivated by that. And instead now we assume that we have the right person when the person is picked up and charged with a crime. The police stop the investigation. Prosecutors start to ignore evidence that points to innocence. Defense lawyers, kind of give up. And the whole system now is actually being undermined because we are not rigorous in approaching it the way the system is designed to be approached. Most of these people are not innocent. Most of the people on death row are not innocent. Most of the people who are charged with crimes are not innocent. But we know that some of them are. And the problem is we can't separate them out in advance. Juries have convicted people who were innocent of heinous crimes, sentenced them to death. Judges have reviewed it, and they've remained on death row. And a lot of them have gotten off of death row only because of chance. Journalism students, investigating the case because a judge stays it for some reason, giving them an opportunity to investigate it. These are not courts that are discovering innocent people. Innocent people are being discovered notwithstanding the courts, and that ought to concern people. All of us are finding that there are cases of people whom we believe are innocent who are in prison. What that means is that the system is not functioning. And I think that what we have to do is to figure out why not.
In 1984, I was a 22-year-old college student, 4.0 GPA, and I really wanted to do something with my life. One night, someone broke into my apartment, put a knife to my throat, and he raped me. During the ordeal, I studied every single detail on his face. I made sure that I looked at his hairline, scars, for any tattoos, for any jewelry, for anything that would help me to identify this man. Because I was confident that when and if I got out, should I be allowed to see the next day, that I was going to make sure he was put in prison and he was going to rot.
I mean, I really was paying attention. So I went to the police station.
I looked through hundreds of noses and eyes and eyebrows and hairlines and nostrils and lips, and I put together a composite drawing. Several days later, I did a photo lineup, and I identified my attacker, and I knew who he was. I was confident. I was so sure. Several days later, I did a physical lineup, and I picked him out. Same man, photo lineup. I picked him out. And it was him. I knew it. I had picked the right guy, and he was going to go to jail, and he was going to rot there. And if there was a death penalty, I wanted him to die, and I would be there to pull the plug. In 1986, we went to court, and I stood on the witness stand, and I put my hand on the Bible, and I swore that I would tell the truth, and I did. And Ronald Cotton was sentenced to prison for life. And it was the happiest day of my life because I could put it behind me. And in 1987, we had to retry it. The appellate court overturned the verdict, and we retried the case. And under voir dire, they brought in another gentleman who had supposedly claimed to have been my attacker and was bragging about it in the same prison wing that Ronald Cotton was serving time.
I thought this was a huge miscarriage of justice. I mean, why?
And they brought Bobby Poole in front of me, and they said, "Miss Thompson, have you ever seen this man?" And I said, I've never seen him in my life. I have no idea who he is.
But do you see the man who raped you in this courtroom today? I said, yes, I do. He's sitting right there. Are you pointing to Ronald Cotton? I said, I'm pointing to Ronald Cotton. And that was it. That's all we needed.
And he served until 1995 when DNA became available, and I was asked to take a blood test. Would I submit to it? And I said, sure. And I'll never forget the day I was standing in my kitchen, and the detective and the district attorney came back and told me, Ronald Cotton didn't rape you. It was Bobby Poole, the man I had never seen before in my life, the man who was inches from my face with a knife to my throat.
I mean, it was like somebody looked at me saying, you know, you're really not the mother of your children. Eyewitness identification is the #1 reason why people are wrongfully convicted. I mean, it's the most fallible evidence that you can have. And what I have come to understand is that my memory was good. But I didn't understand the whole contamination of memory. I didn't understand that whole process. What happened to me was that when I saw him, when I made my mental notes, they were dead on. But when I went to transfer them onto a composite sketch, it was at that moment that I was able to look at a composite sketch that I now had contaminated my memory. And the longer this thing goes, that I'm in trial and I see him, Ronald Cotton became the man who raped me. And my memory, I mean, it was never going to be erased. That truly, years down the road, you were never going to convince me that Ronald Cotton maybe didn't do it. There was no room for that.
Regardless of how good a lawyer you have, it's going to be difficult to shake a person like that. And so that's when you need a strong investigator. And that's when you don't need the death penalty.
Because if there's any doubt, if there's this much doubt in any of your hearts and in any of your souls, if you think there's this much doubt that Gary Graham didn't do this, and I believe that he didn't, can any one of you stand there and say, I can pull that plug?
There is no DNA that can tell Bernadine Skillern that she was wrong or prove whether she's wrong or not. It's a wonderful gift when we have it, but we don't have it in most cases. We don't have it in this case. We can't have a system that says that the only time we recognize our mistakes is when DNA proves it to us. We have to learn the lessons that DNA teach us about mistakes in certain kinds of evidence.
And had there not been DNA in our case, Ronald Cotton would still be in prison right now. Right now. If we know we're making a certain percentage of mistakes, if we know that 2% of the prison population is innocent, are we that stupid to think, well, but none of them are on death row, though? We have to be bright enough to know that we have probably put people to death that were innocent. Whatever the percentage is. But one innocent person is way too many innocent people.
I couldn't imagine how our system had become so flawed. I couldn't comprehend how the justice system, in which I had so much confidence, could be so fraught with error. It was chilling that we could come almost to the ultimate nightmare.
I don't mean to imply that the police or the judges or the prosecutors are going out and saying, let's do something unjust, because I don't think that's true. So I'm not saying that they are bad people. What I'm saying is that the system produces bad results.
Now, we all know that every trial is not exactly fair. Money buys many things. Money buys the best lawyers.
One of the principal problems that the ABA saw was with the competency of lawyers who were appointed in these cases.
Now, there's a reason for this. First of all, counsel are sometimes hard to come by. Competent counsel willing to take on these cases.
And lawyers who might be perfectly competent to handle a non-capital case and therefore to avoid some of the problems that contribute to wrongful convictions are in over their heads in a capital case and are useless, and the problems therefore are exacerbated.
Whether to sentence someone to death or to sentence someone to life, on the other hand, is one of the most subjective sorts of decisions we can ask our fellow human beings to make.